What comes to mind when you think of the color yellow? You think of one of those funny helmets you see mercs wearing sometimes. Maybe some of those yellow cans of paint Abbott mixes to feed the wall. Maybe it's more of a feeling, like a nice summer day when the wasteland's giving you a break from all the stuff that it's always throwing at you on a daily basis. Well, what if something else came to mind? Like old, moldy, faded yellow wallpaper. Like what you'd see in some of those old pre-war homes. Floors made out of shag carpeting, slightly damp as if still suffering the aftermath of a recent flooding. A suffocating silence, mixed with a damp and dingy smell, like decaying wood in an old basement. If you were to wake up from a nap in the wasteland, or more likely a concussion, and find yourself in a room that looks similar to what I just described, then you've just fallen through a crack in reality. One that leads to the Backrooms. While adventuring near the 115 fraternal post, eagle-eyed adventurers may stumble upon a strange-looking device, that being the Rocky's Adventure Camera, a handheld video recorder made for children developed by Robco at some point before the Great War. This specific model, however, would seem to have paranormal properties about it, as adventurers who carry it for too long often go missing, falling into what some say is just a bad dream brought on by the wasteland heat. Others, however, say that it's a punishment for the wicked, but those few who made it out alive simply call it the Backrooms. Reports and details about this strange place are few and far between. However, adventurers who claim to have been there and escaped all report experiencing an endless maze of empty rooms and hallways. Those lucky few wastelanders who found their way out recount the ever-present, oppressive silence, an unnatural quietness only permeated by the constant buzzing of fluorescent light bulbs. While the small number of survivors of this ominous and mysterious place all report similar appearances to the backroom, no two people have reported a similar layout. The paths they travel during their isolation always different. Whether this is because they were dropped into different parts of this expansive and endless maze, or if the maze itself changes from person to person, is perhaps impossible to know for sure. The structure itself seems to at least have some kind of pattern to it, though, as common elements such as locked doors, pointless hallways, random columns, and seemingly bottomless pits are common across survivor stories. This, however, is not all that can be found in the Backrooms, as many have reported walking through a variety of different settings. Furnitures arranged like those work areas inside old office buildings. Rooms reminiscent of the inside of a super-duper mart. Old warehouses with shelves that seem to stretch for miles. One woman even claims that she eventually found a series of rooms where the floors, walls, and ceilings were all tile, like an old subway tunnel or some of those bathrooms in ruined buildings. Some of them checkered from floor to ceiling, with a constant sound of dripping and running water. Some of these rooms even housing massive amounts of water, like old swimming pools the size of lakes. There's an old world term not many people use much these days. Liminal space. It describes a location in a period of transition, like walking around Diamond City in the middle of the night when the guards are on break. It's quiet, empty, unsettling. Like someone's watching you, but you don't know where from. Which is funny, because that's what most of the wasteland is like these days. We just don't use such a fancy term for the day-to-day, I guess. That's how these people describe their encounters in the back room. Quiet, empty, unsettling. Doesn't seem like this camera is the only way of getting into the back rooms, though. Seems to happen randomly for the most part. All I know is that I'll be keeping my distance from the 115 for a bit, because if these back rooms are able to change based on the person that it swallows, then that means it's alive. And I don't want to see what happens to those unlucky enough to run afoul of whatever lies deeper inside.